Very good evening, everybody. Okay, so yeah, thanks for this opportunity, Stack Root, and especially with this star-studded group here. And it was actually a great day today. Right from the beginning, it was all thought-provoking day, right? So let me share my part of the journey as well. Okay, so I'm working in Happiest Minds. It's a service-based organization. So what I'm going to share here is use case, right? What exactly we have done for one particular customer, and our journey throughout. How did we approach? What was our thought process? What and all we have learned, and how did we work along with the customer to make them better in terms of their business and things like that, right? I wanted to share quickly about what were the actual challenge they are facing. And I wanted to take you all through how business use case is all important when it comes to architecture design and getting the things forward and things like that, right? That's a very critical part of any architecture design. Like from morning we were talking about how it is critical for an architect to think from the perspective of the business, what exactly we have to deliver and things like that, right? So this is exactly for a industrial customer. So when they came to us, so they had a problem saying that we wanted to be a competitor in the market. So currently, what we see is our business growth is currently stagnant, and currently we are focusing only on the US region, but we wanted to get into the international also. But somehow we couldn't able to go over there because so and so challenges are there. I couldn't able to get to know who my customers are. I wanted to analyze the customers' revenue and things like that, but I couldn't able to do and things like that, right? So those kind of high-level challenges is what they come up with. But at the first sight, it might look to be like a typical data platform problem. Say they might be looking for a reporting solution where you have to build a sophisticated platform. You can generate a report for them and share the dashboards with them to get the insights, right? But that's how the initial thought process would look like, right? But when you get into the details of it, when we actually got to the core of the problem, so we thought maybe that may not be the actual problem what you're thinking about, because you're talking about some of the customer challenges what you're facing, right? So you have a problem in the customer experience what you wanted to get and all, right? So we wanted to understand to the core what exactly is the problem faced by the business. So one advantage over here for us was, so the problem came to us from the business directly, right? So business reached out to us and asking that I need a help here, right? So I wanted to grow something here. I'm kind of stuck. I wanted some solution to help us out from here, right? That's how it is. So we got the opportunity to directly interact with the business to understand the core problem, right? So when we get deeper, right? So we kind of have a separate thought process in terms of how do we approach this, how do we structure this whole engagement and things like that. So, but we put almost like 4 months of effort to understand the problem. We had a lot of discovery workshops to understand the problem, because it's for the entire enterprise, right? So there are multiple business functions involved over there, starting from the sales, marketing, supply chain, to name a few, right? So all these business functions is where we have to deal with. So we wanted to understand what exactly from each business stakeholder's perspective, the problem they are facing, to understand the pain points what they are facing, and kind of come up with the challenges from there and think about what could be the possible ideas which we can implement so that we can help the customers out of it, right? So that's how it started. So from the discovery workshops, getting to the requirement definitions, consolidating the ideas, what has to be done, and finally from there is when we have reached out to the solutioning and things like that. So even whatever I'm talking about, it's much before reaching out to the solution, understanding the actual pain points of the customer. So that's when we got to know they have a serious customer problem. Serious customer problem as in they can't understand who their customers are, right? I guess Balaji pointed some time back in the previous discussion saying that single source of truth, right? With his name, he pointed that as an example. But try to superimpose that for a larger B2B customer, right? So when a customer does, our client I'm talking about, but for the client, the end customers, if they don't know who their end customers are, what is the business they're dealing with for the end customers are, how much problem they are facing, right? I'll give you a few examples for it, right? So let's take the sales business function, for example. So sales business function is there is a marketing function is there, right? So sales function is trying to approach a customer looking for them as a prospect, right? But it ended up in seeing them, they are already a customers for this client, right? So the customers are saying that I'm already a customer for you, why are you coming and reaching out to us, right? That is the kind of problem they are facing. So if they have this kind of customer experience, you can think about if they want to build their enterprise and want to take them to the next level and things like that, right? What kind of serious problem they will get into, right? So that's where we got to know they don't have a single source of truth for customer. So what exactly they have to build is one single customer repository for them through which they are able to analyze, saying that, okay, these are the customers for me, these are the businesses I'm dealing with the customer. You can associate to any business functions you can relate to, because customer data is the core for any organization, right? So you could relate it to customers sales, customers marketing, customers supply chain. If you want to do cross analysis, supply chain, and along with the marketing want to analyze, or sales along with the marketing want to analyze, you could do all those things, right? But if you don't have the core functionality in place, you can't even reach there, right? So that's the very first thing we understood. That's the very first thing we thought that could be helping the customers. Our client, and also the other thought process what they had was different business functions wanted to get into the next level, right? So to name a few, the sales cycle management I was talking about, the marketing I was talking about, customer analytics I was talking about, right? So so all these functions wanted to understand the customer as a profile. So customer is not just an information, right? So customer's footprint. So customer information may say what is the name of the customer, where they exactly located and things like that. But customer footprint says what are the different sales I'm doing with, at what level of customer, because each customer will be having a different organization hierarchy, right? So at each level, what is the business I'm generating, what is the current marketing currently happening with these customers, the entire footprint of the customers they wanted to analyze, each business functions wanted to analyze, right? So that's how we categorized. It could be it could look like a customer problem, but end of the day, it may be two separate problems. One is we wanted to build a customer system so that they can do whatever they want, at least build the foundation for them. Second one is how do we generate this platform, like to generate the complete customer profile for them, right? So that's how the whole thought process went on. So based on all these things, we went to the solution approach, like I already pointed out, saying that it's a twofold solution. One is a customer data management system, wanted to build a single source of truth for the client, what I'm talking about. The second one is the customer profile system, right? So I'll get into technology and the solutioning, why I named it as data fabric and all, because it is talking about a particular data architecture concept, which is nothing but the data fabric. So when we wanted to generate this customer profile, it's nothing but it wanted to stitch the customer data, the data of a customer, along with the additional information what is needed for the customer, stitch everything together and serve it for the end consumers. Consumers, what I'm talking about here is all the business functions, right? So how we could stitch it and serve for the consumers within the organization who wanted to look the customer at their own perspective, right? So that's a twofold solution what I'm talking about here. Okay, so it's a very high-level architecture solution because I was not allowed to put the actual solution design over here, but I tried to cover the logical design with the technical components involved here. So we spoke about. I'm not going to get into the explanation of each technology stack because experts here knows this technology stack better than me. So I'm going to talk about the two problems what we are going to solve, right? One is the customer management system as a business requirement what we wanted to achieve. Other one was the customer profile what we wanted to achieve. So customer management system what we wanted to achieve, that is nothing but the master data management solution what we have to build. So when we designed this architecture, we wanted to be a modern data platform architecture. So there was a question about whether I have to buy or whether I have to build, right? So obviously, if you're buying, it's nothing but you can quickly buy any the leaders in the market, right? The MDM tool leaders in the market, and you can get done with it. But what exactly I'm achieving with that? Am I getting the tool which is going to be overkill for the whole solution? Because that is going to come up with a very high cost, right? That may not be right thing what I have to do. Means what I mean is what I exactly wanted to do, it may not be there, that is first thing. Or that tool is having so many things which I don't want, right? So there's so many things like that, right? So which we have to properly analyze and say whether I have to go for a build solution or a buy solution. But based on our analysis, understanding this particular use case, what we have decided is, let's go for a build solution. We'll build a custom solution for solving this use case, right? So since it is an MDM, I wanted it to be a modern data platform because that is where the entire architecture is going with. So modern data platform, now it's modern data stack. So that's how the journey of architectures are going in, right? So when it comes to the modern data platform, we wanted to use the best of the technology choice to build this whole component what I was talking about. So that's where the core of the solution is the MDM solution. That's where we have chosen graph-based technology as the right fit for it, because we understood the problem about the customer data, and it's all talking about relationship between the data. It's all about the relationship and relationship-based analysis, and the graph is the best choice for it, right? So that's where we have chosen a graph-based technology for the MDM piece, and that's where the Neo4j came into picture. So once we have the MDM part came in, so the next critical part over there is, how do I manage this customer data? So how do, when as part of any MDM solution, it's not just about keeping the data. It's also about how to manage the data rightly. That's where the data stewards and all these people come in. So when we have a proprietary tool, it comes in default, but since we are building it customizedly, we are building a complete customized data governance portal, we call. So through which the data stewards could usually log in and manage the customer information. That's where the application process, the component what you're seeing there talks about. So the MDM will be having its regular data pipelines, which gets the data from the system of records, streaming data, and process it. The other key thing here is marrying the Databricks and Neo4j together, because Databricks is the data processing component we have used, and Neo4j is the MDM component we have used, right? So Databricks does the data processing, but usually when we work with the Databricks, we will end up in building a data lakehouse, especially using DBFS or ADLS and things like that, right? But here my storage is going to be Neo4j, which is completely a different technology choice, graph-based technology, so which is having its own compute, which is having its own query language to process. But how I'm going to marry this together, that was another key thing over here. So that particular component talks about the customer management system. So next one, what I was saying was the customer data fabric, generating the customer profile out of it, right? So that's where the data fabric component, what you see there. So data fabric itself is a vast component, like the data mesh, what we were talking about. So this itself, we can talk for hours, right? But here what I'm saying is, so like the customer profile, what I want to generate, it is about getting the customer information, also about the customer's additional information, about the sales of the customer, the interactions which happened with the customer, the marketing elements which happened with the customer, right? So all these things which we wanted to stitch together. So data fabric works in this space very better, because we don't want to replicate the data, but at the same time, we wanted to give the data to the consumers in the perspective they want, right? So that's where the core components of data fabric will come into picture, the virtualization, the cataloging, and the in-memory processing, all these things will come into picture. So all these things we were designing in a custom-built way, using the Azure-specific components. We leveraged the microservices and CosmoDB, Databricks, all these things for the data fabric component. And finally, it gets served through a data service layer. Okay. So the features we spoke about, and the challenges, the key challenges, actually I would not say it's a technical challenge, the key challenges was the business challenge, I would say, because since it is all dealing with the business, right? So it's all started from the business, and we have to give the right path for the business, right? So which means there is a lot of business process changes are going to happen. Business process change means for the entire enterprise, the business process change we are talking about. So I was talking about the sales cycle and all, right? So there are close to 1,000 stores for this customer. So all those 1,000 stores, the way they are going to onboard the customer is going to change. So the business process has to change. And how they have to follow this new architecture to implement the business process, that all comes into Magda, right? So all these things all thought through, it's all getting implemented in a, iterative way. So it's the whole use case here is given a roadmap for 4 years. We already completed 2 years. We already delivered, and the system people are already using it. So we have 2 more years of commitment. So because we have built it in such a way that every milestone the business has to start consuming things, right? Because that is how we have designed the architecture and also the use cases around it. Okay. So those are the key challenges, I would say. Otherwise, the technical challenges, it's about the Neo4js, the Databricks, building the data fabric, all these kind of things are the other set of challenges. Okay. So finally, when it comes to the values what we have delivered, it's about getting the business capabilities improved. Like I mentioned, the sales cycle management, or it could be the customer analytics, or the customer experience, or the information management. All these business capabilities are impacted. These are only few things to name, but there are still, at least I would say, 15 more business capabilities which we have to still work on, which is what I was talking about the next 2 years down the line. But all these capabilities are improved currently. Whatever they were facing as a challenge, they could see the improvements has happened. They got whatever they wanted to achieve, right? So that's the kind of value it has been delivered so far. So that's pretty much wanted to cover about this use case. And so the key learning over here, like I mentioned, right? So approaching any problem. So approaching any problem, we might have got the first initial problem and we might have got into a solution also. But once you got into the details of it, the perspective changes, the whole business perspective changes, or the actual requirement changes and things like that, right? So it is always suggested to get into the details of the business problem even before jumping to the solution, right? That's a key thing I would say as a takeaway from this story what I have gone through. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so very much. May I request Raji to please come and give away the momentum?
Yeah, sure.
So here basically, I think the company was not really focused on understanding its customers well, starting point.
Yeah.
So part of the discipline was to force them to put their data in. It's like alumni association for schools or colleges.
Right.
We just don't have the list.
Correct.
Start with simple as that.
Yeah, that's right.
So one part was that I could understand, and therefore getting that organized. And then once that was set, then the interaction, the fabric part is the basis for the interaction.
Next part of it, right?
So did that involve retraining their sales force and so on? They had to do it, or?
Salesforce, they no need to recreate at least, but the way to use their existing CRM or the way to use their existing ERPs are going to change.
So they which business executives changed their work because this information was well said? Which kind of people? Marketing managers, product managers?
So when it comes to sales, it is the actual sales development representatives, the head of the sales. And when it comes to the local stores, the business specialist over there. I'll give you an example, right? So currently, any customer can walk into the store and they can buy. So when they're buying, they can just type in the information of the customer, they can onboard. So that is how the problematic data got created. So now what we are saying is, you can't onboard a data. You have to know who this customer is, which is already available in this customer repository. Get the data from there, then you onboard. So that you will be restricted to onboard only the correct data. So that is a kind of process change it is getting implied.
KYC type of thing to be done, that if the person shows up in the store and he says, I'm so and so, they find a method to get it and quickly get the data.
Correct.
Starting with that.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.